My name's Eli Delaney, and I have the honor of meeting some pretty cool people. These are the entrepreneurs, the artists, the creatives, the game changers that are making a positive impact in the people that they meet. And I'm a firm believer that the people that you meet can get you anywhere you want to go. And this show is my way of sharing them with you. It's my way of also helping you meet cool people. All right, welcome back, my friends. Eli here, and today I have a recent guest. We have just gotten to know each other. She actually saw me speak at an event just a couple of weeks ago. We ended up getting on the call and having just a great time. And I was like, okay, she's cool people. We want to bring her on here. So let me introduce you. And I'm going to tell you, her name's a little bit more complicated. So I may screw this up, and I'm going to apologize in advance publicly for everybody before I bring her out here. But let's see if I can get this right. It's Gehan, Haridy-Ardanowski. She goes by G because she's told me everybody else screws it up. So if I got that right, I'm super excited. And let me tell you a little bit about her. She is driven by and imparts to others the fusion of two powerful quotes. Why fit in when you were born to stand out, and go where you're celebrated and not tolerated, which I love these things. So G has over 20 years experience in multi-industry HR training, recruitment, related roles with small and large household name companies, including Cintas, 7-Eleven, CVS, Sara Lee, and PwC. She is the founder and creative consultant of Golden Synergy Touch LLC. She is also a best-selling author from the book From Satan to Sensational HR, 7 Ways to Humanize Evil Human Resources, which I just thought was a crazy cool title. So with that said, G, thanks for coming and hanging out today.
Hey, I'm thrilled to be here. And even more that you consider me cool people, Eli. Truly a privilege. Thank you so much. And yes, you got the name right. Yay.
I got it right. And I love it because I know when you and I met, which was on that spot that I was speaking, and I wanted to get your name right. And I was like, okay, is it Gehan? And she was like, just call me G. And I'm like, no, I want to get it right. So I'm very happy that I did get it right, because I think you and I already talked about this, and we were chatting before the show. I came from Idaho, which means that I know how to pronounce like Bob, things like that. So, this has been fun. And you and I had a great conversation just a week ago, and we just had a good chat, which I love that. And, I even explained it to you, the people that I like to bring on the show are people that are just literally it describes cool people that I have great conversations with. So I already gave your bio, but tell us a little bit more about your business and how you're helping people, solve their problems today.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you again for having me here. And yes, I'm G, and I have a 20 plus year HR background. And along with that, I also have a 17 plus year LinkedIn background. So my approach is really twofold. As a consultant, I do fractional and project HR consulting and supporting small to mid-sized companies with the day-to-day, your recruitment, your engagement, retention, all the good stuff. In addition to that, though, I also work on employee advocacy initiatives, and I do a lot of that through LinkedIn strategy. And so I work on personal branding initiatives, not just to slap a banner on your LinkedIn profile and encourage employees and others to go out and start posting content, but I have a really ground up approach called my Glum Gray to Bold Yay Pathway Framework, and really humanizing LinkedIn, because a lot of times personal branding gets stale and those pieces all align, really. And so I love what I do. I am a very, dare I say, people person. But again, it's HR, and part of why I wrote the book with Satan in the title was to grab attention, and that was based on a talk I gave last year, and that's a whole other topic in itself. So I'm just bringing some personality back to the mix, if you will.
No, I love it. And that was when I saw the title, I was like, what is this? And then I went and I looked on Amazon because I was checking out. This was after you and I had just talked, and Nick, you didn't really say a whole lot about the book. Just like, I wrote a book. I was like, okay, let me go check it out. I did get it. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I did pick up a copy. So I was very, it's on my list. I'm behind on my reading. I got so many things to read. Wish I had more free time so I could just read and, drink coffee all day.
did them.
So what was it that, you said that there was a presentation that you did that got you to write the book. Give us a little bit more story of that. Like where did that come from?
Absolutely. So many people talk about how they want to write a book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd had a book on the brain for years and years, and lo and behold, that's actually going to be the second book that I'm currently working on. Meanwhile, a year ago, I gave what's called a DisruptHR talk. So if you're not familiar, go to a DisruptHR website, and there are a ton of global talks. I believe they've been around now for about 15 years or so, something to that effect.
Nice.
And it's all about 5-minute TEDx style Ignite talks, if you will, to disrupt the HR profession. And so I gave a talk, and it was basically about HR not being Satan and humanizing the evil experience. After I gave that talk, someone that I know named Michelle B. Griffin encouraged me after she heard the talk, said, gee, why don't you write a book? Write a book. Just get to market quicker. Take that concept, take your talk that you already have these talking points on, write a book. And I thought, that's a good idea. Why not do it? And I did it. And I did it in just a few months. And that's the book that's right behind me. So
nice.
I'm proud of it. I am really excited to work on my second book as well. But that first book, for those out there who really want to get started, it's just taking that first step, right? Oh, yeah. So it's the important part.
No, definitely. And it's like, I've got 2 books, and sadly, those 2 books are like, 10 and 12 years old, or 12 and 13 or something. It's been a while. And I keep like, I should probably get back to that and do another one soon. But it's great that you did that. And I want to kind of go into a little bit of this, because this is a lesson on a couple of different sides. Number one is, I love that you had, Disrupt HR. I think that's just cool. That's a cool thought. I hadn't heard of that before. Having something that's that niche down, but still that TEDx style, which is pretty cool. And the idea of, like, I come from the coaching, speaking background and everything. So a lot of people have the books, but a lot of times they're writing the books and it's, I don't know, it just doesn't have as much substance to it in a lot of areas. And I think that, like, for you to take that out and say, okay, here's this presentation, and turn the presentation into a book. Now that's like, okay, you already were successful with the presentation. Obviously they loved it. That makes a big difference. And you're giving people real meat, real value by actually getting through that. Cause I'm sure you've had that where a couple people, you've read at least a couple of books where you read it and it's like, yeah, this is really kind of high level stuff. And so I love that you put that together with that, and that you're already working on your next one, which is awesome. Now,
which was the first one supposed to be, but yes,
it was supposed to be the first one.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit more about where's that going again? The new one.
Sorry, what was it?
Where's the next book going? What's that going to be about?
Oh, it is called, and this is the mock-up. So again, and this is meant to encourage people out there who want to write a book and you have that thought or that thing that you want to do. I literally created a mock-up of my title. It's called Work Your Quirk and Live Your Worth.
I love it.
And the first book that I wrote was more specific to HR and humanizing the profession, and it was quirky and et cetera, et cetera. The second book actually came from initially starting out writing, but it was writing in the wrong direction. So I was writing more toward leadership, and leadership do things better, because I've been through multiple transitions over the years, which is in itself a story of how I am where I am today in my own consultancy, if you will, because when you get kind of nudged enough from corporate, it's like, okay, you kind of got to think things differently. But with this second book, it's really tailored more toward career transitioners and people who've been gut punched multiple times. And how can you navigate the topsy-turvy career journey and still feeling your worth, because you really are worth it. And that's the messaging that I'm trying to impart to people. So
nice. Very cool. I love it. Look forward to it. So tell us a little bit, how did you transition from the companies that you worked with before to coming out and doing this on your own? What did that look like for you?
Well, I wish I could say that it was my lifelong dream to be a solopreneur, entrepreneur, however you want to frame it. But really, it was my most recent layoff, which was 2 years ago, after only being back at work in a permanent role for about 8 months. and getting laid off and deciding, okay, I've had enough of this, because it was my sixth term/layoff in a 20-year period, in addition to that, contract roles and such. And people had been nudging me, gee, why don't you consider doing something for yourself or go in this direction? But that requires a lot of, obviously, money and a plan and all the things. And sometimes you don't really have that ability. You just kind of have to take what you have and go with it. So I have the skills and I have the chops and all that good stuff, but it's really just been building that confidence and putting myself out there doing the things that, I know I can do. And this is where I'm at now. So 2 years later, I'm still in my consultancy, still looking for projects and clients and collaborations and all the great stuff. So it's definitely different than being, confined and chained to that corporate chair, if you will. So yeah,
awesome.
That's kind of where I'm at right now. But, it's been a really great ride. And again, in the spirit of meeting cool people, it's allowed me this opportunity to meet incredible people that I wouldn't have otherwise necessarily met. So
right. No, and I 100% agree with that. That is one of the coolest things about being an entrepreneur or solopreneur, whatever term you want to use with it, is the ability to, network and connect with such amazing people. And, it's like, I always tell people, it's like some of the coolest people I've met have been hanging out. It could be, in the lobby of an event or even in the bar of an event, because that's usually really popular. And you don't even know who it is you're talking to. You start a conversation, and next thing you know, like I had a conversation with somebody. We talked for probably 15 minutes before I realized he was one of the top bloggers in the world. And because I didn't personally follow him, but when I heard his name, when he actually said his name, because we just started talking, we just had a good conversation. And then he's like, oh, by the way, I'm Darren. And I was like, oh, hi, Darren. And then I connected it. And I'm like,
connected, right?
Oh, I know who you are. And it was pretty funny because literally, like I said, we'd had probably 15, 20 minutes, great chat.
Yeah.
And we didn't even know who each other was at that point. And so it's like, you can learn so much, and you can see, for me personally, it's an inspiration to see what it is that drives other people. What are they doing? And, what are the things that they're excited about at the time? And that's kind of what Make Cool People is about, is like people that are sharing cool things. And I'm like, oh yeah, I like this. We're going to go into that. So tell us a little bit about who are the type of clients that you really work with?
Leaders of small to mid-sized companies, ideally from that fractional project HR standpoint, but also because my approach is twofold. I love working with people, whether it is those same business leaders building out their employee advocacy programs or teams, or even individuals looking to amplify their LinkedIn presence.
Okay.
And because for me, and part of, if I can share just for a second, part of where that comes from is for many, many years, being in corporate and being in roles as an HR person and having to, I don't want to say enforce, but nudge along LinkedIn, hey, employees, go and like a post or do this or do that with LinkedIn. You have people out there who just, very LinkedIn averse, social media averse, whatever the case may be, and having that empathy and wanting people to stand out in their own right and for the right reasons. And so it ties together. And that's why I'm not, in fact, I wrote about this today. I wrote a post talking a little bit about this, how there are a gazillion LinkedIn coaches and personal branding people, and you've got a mix of everything. And my approach is a little bit different, only from the standpoint of I literally start from the very, very beginning. And that's with the Clifton Strengths and the UMAP to tie together why you even want to get online. And that matters, it means different things to different people. So
yeah, nice. And I love your approach with that. And it's, I think it's getting less as bad, but it used to be like LinkedIn specifically, it was always, well, why would I use LinkedIn? I'm not looking for a job.
Exactly.
And nowadays it's becoming better, but I think there's a lot of people that don't really understand that. Now, as an entrepreneur, from my standpoint, I know it's another social media platform. I need to be out there because people are ethically stalking me to see if I'm legit or not. Right. I get that. And so I'd love for you to kind of go down that rabbit hole a little bit as talking about it from I would love to see kind of sides of what you see on both sides now that you're also doing your own thing, so you can see the entrepreneur side, but also as an employee, what are the differences on what people should be looking at doing and how can they be active on LinkedIn to get great results? And like as an employee, let's go ahead and start on that side. As an employee, why should I be using LinkedIn? And how is that going to help me, not just for if I need that another job down the road, but like today? How does that work?
Oh, I love the question, Eli. No, this is great. I could talk literally this topic all day long, but I will be concise. So the thing with employees getting onto LinkedIn, a lot of it starts from the top down. Now, going back to not all employees should be out there liking posts, engaging, feeling forced to do it. It's really something that from a culture standpoint, leadership guides employees through. But many times leaders don't know how to do that. And so that's where people like me come along and say, okay, team. And again, wearing both my HR hat and my LinkedIn hat, because I've been on the platform for 17 years. It's crazy to think about, but I've seen it in all kinds of different phases and stages. Really understand, or getting, leaders to understand why it's important to have the right people in the right seats on the bus, because it's not a one size fits all. And, it's something too where and this is very important, but I always try to remind leaders that, hey, if you engage your employees and build a culture that encourages this behavior and these activities and this interaction and networking, they're not going to want to leave you for that next role. They're going to want to stick around. And so that's the key. It's the messaging that needs to come from the top and from that leadership piece. Now, also with that though, with people out there, struggling to get onto LinkedIn, and this is where I come along and say to the people who are venturing out, you have to start somewhere. And I look back on my own journey 5 years ago, starting on video, for example. Now, I'd been on LinkedIn for many years, but video at the time during COVID, people started venturing out, telling their sides of the story, their vulnerabilities. I started talking about dropping out of high school. I went through all of the phases and, oh my gosh, how much should I stand out? And ultimately, people want to see other people standing out. So when people around you see what you're doing, they're going to want to gravitate toward that because they want some of that too. And that's what I have found most useful over the years. So
awesome. I love it. And I think that, you hit on something that I think is really important, is like that if that's brought in as part of the culture and it's like now they're communicating with each other, it's kind of like for us in the networking world from the B2B side, I know people like you, if you post something, I want to like it. I want to comment on it. Number one is to be part of the conversation. And then also to support you with it.
absolutely.
And so I think from a corporate culture, I would see how the same thing should work so much better, that if you have more employees that are also supporting each other and doing that, it brings it up, for not to sound too cliche with it, that corporate family feel. And I could see how that could make a big difference in how people perceive the company and their position in the company. And like you said, they'll want to stick around a lot longer.
Yeah. You have to love the company first. You have to respect. Yeah. Again, it's top down always. Mm-hmm. It starts with leadership. And, from there, amazing things can happen.
Awesome. I love it. Very cool. So as a leader, that, if you're trying to encourage your staff to be more, active in this kind of situation, what are some of the first steps that they should be taking as leaders? Like, what should I do to get my staff to be more engaged and part of the conversation?
Yeah. The very first thing is having a pulse on what's actually happening at the company. So if you're dealing with a workforce that's just been through several layoffs and transitions and turnover and a big mix, it's really tough to roll out an initiative, because this is an initiative, employee advocacy. And I know that term also, along with personal branding and authenticity in certain terms, it gets a little still. But with that piece of it, with advocacy, it really is about bringing employees along for the ride. But before anything, you have to ensure that you're positioned to be able to do it. So as a leader, And this is actually, I'm taking a step back for a second, but I recently started a YouTube channel. Go me, that's another story. But in that, I'm creating shorts, talking to leadership and telling them, hey, these are some of the things that you might want to be aware of and to look out for and to avoid the pitfalls and to keep your culture thriving and positive and avoid going down the road of having to like force an initiative like a LinkedIn later on and not having an engaged workforce to do that with. So it's all about first taking that temperature check and evaluating who even wants to be involved. And then from there, you can build that out. You can start to create profiles and have those conversations and encourage networking, because employee advocacy, of course, goes beyond just being on LinkedIn. It's about representing your company at various events locally and through your chambers, through your volunteerism. All of those things matter, but you have to believe in the company first. And again, top down.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I think that there's a great way to look at it too, because as a leader, if you're putting out short videos and stuff like that, it also humanizes the leadership side to the employees. But then it also, from the other side, I look at it from the entrepreneur standpoint. If I see a company and the face of the company, whoever that is, whether that be the CEO, founder, whatever, and they're having these conversations and they're sharing stuff, especially adding video to it, because that humanizes it. It makes it much more a person, not a corporation. And I like, as you're talking about this stuff, it's making me think about how, like, I see companies, and I always teach, I teach this on my side, a standpoint of you need to be the face of the company, because people aren't buying the company. They're buying you. They're buying the person. And I always say, take that from a standpoint of a marketing perspective, that you build the relationship and you get people to know who you are, what you stand for, your personality, your quirks, your likes, your dislikes. A lot of times people come to me because they know I'm a dog guy, right? And it's, there's a lot of different things that you can build those relationships, and it's because people can get to know you a bit. And now, based on this conversation, I'm like, okay, but as we're doing this, as the founder, CEO, whatever, blah, blah, blah title we have, if we're out there doing that, and then we start getting other staff members to start doing this, now we're having more conversation and we're more accessible. And going back to that humanization of the company, I can see how it ends up being this much bigger spiral. And like you touched briefly on like, I don't remember exactly the term you used, but like charities or causes that they stand for. It's kind of cool that you can do that too. It's like, you might have this employee over here that this is something that's important to them, some specific cause, and they start talking about it. Well, now you've got all these other employees that are like, oh, wait a minute, what's she doing over here? That's kind of cool. And now they're going to start supporting her. And it's this whole spider web. It's a ripple effect. And I like I said, I see this from a business standpoint, from a business marketing perspective, but I'm seeing how you're doing this within the intro culture of it too, how powerful it really could be. And then of course, from the business standpoint, you see all this activity from all these employees doing all these cool things and sharing and being there for each other. It's like, okay, maybe that is a cool place to work. Right. And I see how the ripple effect works with this. I love it.
I will say really quickly, there are some companies and employee advocates, if you will, whether they're in HR, other departments, that I see online, on LinkedIn especially. They love what they do. And you can tell that it's authentic. Right. They truly do. And every time I see that, I'm very quick to sound in with a comment and say, nothing energizes me more than this, because you don't see that all the time.
Right.
And that's really, at the end of the day, nowadays, especially with everything going on in the world and so much stress, people want to feel appreciated. People want to, feel that they can thrive in their environment. And that's so important to go to a place where you have that. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's, when you're talking about that, you just said a very key point is they want to feel appreciated. And that is one of the things that actually is so much lacking in so many situations, but it's actually not even that difficult, because a lot of times I know from, businesses, a lot of times they always think that the employee is there for the paycheck and all they want is more money. And on the flip side, the employee thinks all the employer wants is the cheapest person possible to get the thing done. And there's that lack of connection or communication there. When we realize there's a lot more to human beings than just those two factors. And this opens up that door for those possibilities. And I love that. I love that. It's like, no, wait a minute, let's communicate on this. And you can say, okay, maybe the specific job doesn't pay as much as you would necessarily like, but the support you get from the company in all these other areas. And, I'm sorry, I don't care who you are. If you post something or your boss turns around and posts publicly saying, hey, G did this amazing job for XYZ. I just want to publicly say thank you so much for stepping up here. That makes you feel good. And those are the kind of things that are important. Yeah, I love it. That is awesome. So when a client comes to you to begin with, like you did say small to medium businesses. So let's kind of be a bit more specific on what that is, because for me, small business is more like us, where we would normally be considered like micro businesses just because of the size that we are. So what kind of clients in that aspect? What are your ranges looking at?
I mean, even the startups with just a few people, I'm talking, 3, 2, 3, 4. I mean, literally in that infancy stage to, gosh, I've worked for when I say small companies, and I know that the numbers vary depending on who you talk to. I mean, I've also supported companies with around 200 people, but I've also worked for larger corporations in a permanent capacity. Notice the air quotes. But no, from a client standpoint, though, I really love working with the smaller companies because they don't know everything. And many times they're going to be very quick to say, this is where we need the help. And or at least I think this is where, hey, G, help guide us there. And that's what I really enjoy doing. I've got a couple that I've worked with, and it's been amazing.
Okay. So with that said, I would love to kind of put you on the spot a little bit here. Do you have a client in particular that you could think of that you could share a little bit of kind of where they were and what you helped them with?
Well, in fact, I can. So one client that I have been working with for the past, you're good, Eli. So one client I've been working with in particular at Tempest DS, and you can see that on my profile currently. I've been more or less their project / fractional / what have you over the past several months. And I will tell you, one of the things that really, to tie in all this Clifton Strengths and UMAP piece, is as they're growing, one of the things that we're focusing on is employee development. But really, it starts with that foundational piece. Like, what are people enjoying most, in the world? What are they good at? And I'm not a big assessment person, but Clifton Strengths is something I've embraced. And I should back up, also known as Strengths Finder. Clifton Strengths is something that is really more performance-based. And those are your 34 top talents and where you truly thrive. So when we started doing a deeper dive into that and having those discussions about, what are some areas that everyone is really good at, maybe some areas or gaps that we can, kind of connect the dots and possibly fill in. And so we're still working through some of that. And it's really energizing. And I've seen this at other places too. When people do their Clifton Strengths and start to build from that foundation up, amazing things happen. And again, that goes back to my Glum Gray Boldier that I'm always talking about. And it's the same with LinkedIn. You can't build anything unless you know yourself first. So that's where we're at currently with that and still continuing that work. And I love that part of it.
Awesome. I love it. I love how so many different personality test kind of things have gotten so popular. Cause I remember back when they weren't, like, everybody's like, okay, what's this woo woo weird shit? I don't know. And it's great that they've done so much more with it. I don't see as much with the Strengths Finder. I actually see more of that on entrepreneurs using that. I haven't seen it as much on the business side, which I think is interesting. And I don't know if that's just because I'm not in the right circles with it, but I found that it's actually really cool that, you're bringing that in. Cause I do agree. I think if you know yourself, where your strengths are and know how to leverage that, it makes you more confident in what you do. And I think also that, like, for like a lot of people that I know, even if they have a virtual assistant, they'll have them take personality tests. And usually they start with something like the Myers-Briggs or, 16 personality, something a little bit more basic and of course free, because that's how they start. Right. But what they'll do is they'll bring people in have them do those tests, and they're like, okay, now I need to see the results so I understand how to communicate with you more effectively. And I think that that's really, I love that people in general are getting more open to that. It's like, okay, let me understand how to communicate with you. Because as a communication guy, to me, that's important. Like, some of it I've gotten kind of naturally, but once I started studying some of this stuff, it's like, okay, now I understand this even better, which means that I can talk to somebody differently. Like I talk to you differently than I would somebody else, just because I understand your modalities, how you think, how you act, how you react, those kind of things. And those are such powerful skills to get. And I love that people are embracing that. It's great. So as we're getting close to time here, before we start wrapping up, any last things you'd like to share with somebody, words of advice before we do the final wrap up here?
No, absolutely. I mean, I think, and I share this all the time, everyone do your Clifton strengths, know your top 5. And here's the reason why I say that is because everyone has their superpower. And I know superpower, again, another term that gets tossed around, but everyone is strong at something. And I think a lot of times people forget that, whether they're in the trenches in the job, whether they've been laid off, gut punched in some way. It's really just leaning into the best parts of yourself, because at the end of the day, that's how you're going to shine. And leaning into that and sharing that with the world is most important. So know that, and don't be afraid to network. Reach out. You never know where the conversations can go, whether you're sitting next to someone at a restaurant or on a bus or on a train, or just, walking into a store. You never know. So it's network, smile, and just put yourself out there.
I love it. Wise words. Smile. If nothing else, smile.
Absolutely. You'd be amazed. You'd be amazed.
It would, and it's one of those things that's like, I always look at it, it's not a bad thing. You can very rarely have a bad thing if you smile more.
Yeah.
I don't think that's really a negative. It really isn't. Awesome.
Well, can I tell you something funny really quick?
Go for
those LinkedIn selfies where everyone looks really gloomy and somber, and some of them just look very luminous. I don't do that look well. I've said that a long time ago. You will not see the sultry, sullen look from me. It just does not become me. So I'm usually...
I love it. That is awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so we are wrapping up here. I got 2 final questions for you. Last question is the easy one. That's how can people get a hold of you? But we'll ask that in a second. But before then, this is the Meet Cool People show. And I always ask every single guest this one simple question. What do the words Meet Cool People mean to you?
Oh my gosh. Number 1, you need to be gracious. And that is part of why I really was attracted to your vibe, Eli. Just gracious, personable, and just willing to talk, willing to get to know you. I think it's so important nowadays more than ever to just come with a little bit of empathy, and just those people who you can just kind of connect with, and you have that vibe. And to me, I think anyone who treats people with kindness and grace, that's cool. And that's free. It's not about the number of followers you have or the title or status or what car you drive. It's just showing up as yourself and just being that gracious, kind, decent person. That's cool. And quirk helps too.
Quirk helps too. I love it. That is awesome. Okay. So if anybody wants to get a hold of you, what is the best way for them to find out?
Well, of course, I'm on LinkedIn with my crazy long name, but you can always visit my website at www.goldensynergytouch.com. And do people even say the www anymore? But it's goldensynergytouch.com. And there you'll find everything. And like I said, I'm just happy to connect with you. Send me a note if you want to on LinkedIn, if you want to connect, if you can. And looking forward to making more magic happen. Thank you for asking.
I love it. Awesome. And then for everybody out there, definitely get connected with her. If you connect with her on LinkedIn, make sure that you send a note saying, hey, I heard you on the Meet Cool People show, because that's like the little secret. So many people miss that part. That's how you start the good introduction.
Yeah. Yes. That's another soapbox.
That's another soapbox.
Connect with intent.
And we might have another whole episode on that one specifically.
Beautiful.
So awesome. Well, thank you so much, G. This has been a pleasure. I knew it was going to be a lot of fun, and I hope you had a good time.
Thank you. I did. Thank you again for your grace and your hospitality.
Awesome. All right. And everybody get out there. Have an awesome week. As always, if there's anything I can do to help you out, reach out. Let me know. Take care. And that wraps up another Meet Cool People show. Now, if you like what you heard, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, or review so I can help introduce these amazing cool people to even more amazing cool people. And just remember, meeting cool people is just the beginning. You need to have a system in place to follow up with the amazing people that you meet. This is exactly what we do for our clients. If you'd like to see if my team and I can help you, go to followuprockstar.com and check out the case study video to see exactly how we're helping our clients turn casual connections into cash clients for life. Again, go to followuprockstar.com and we'll see how we can work together to turn you into a follow-up rockstar.